this sort of story, because the indicator is a story, right? And let's never forget, and I'm saying this to Liz, was reasonably really busy trying to enact change from the bottom up. But it's very hard to do so when the national performance indicator is a totally different one, right? So, well, a lot of people will tell you, use this, come up, think of a country as a company. You talk to the workers and you say to them, look, you need to do this differently. You need to change your habits. You need to change your way of working. And they will be very happy to do so. But then we'll tell you, look, but if my KPIs say exactly the KPIs say exactly the opposite, my salary is attached to a totally different performance mechanism. How can I change that? At the end of the day, they will become complacent and they will say what the KPI are saying they expect them to do. So we cannot fight against a national KPI, which is exactly the opposite of what we predicate at the local level. So it's very important to do this. So that's why I think the HPI has to work with all the subjective well-being indicators, the genuine progress indicators, the alternative GDP movement, everything that is moving in that direction. They may not be the same thing, but they're telling a very similar story. We shouldn't be picky. We shouldn't cannibalize each other. It shouldn't be, often this is what scientists do, right? I like my indicator more than yours, and I try to campaign for my indicator against yours. That's a mistake. I think all of them go in the same direction. And another thing that I think is crucial in this process, it is to showcase all these indicators as a way of doing economics better. We shouldn't fight against the idea of, we shouldn't simply say this is about intrinsic values, although that is very important, but it's also about extrinsic values. It's about living better. It's about doing better, and doing better is quite trendy vis-a-vis doing more, right? I mean, GDP economic system is doing more, and that's quite appealing. If you think about it, we shouldn't disregard the appeal of doing more. You can only compete with doing more, I think, if you come up with a doing better strategy. Doing better is pretty cool. I think I would buy doing better vis-a-vis doing more. The fact, for instance, that Larry Page moved to New Zealand, I think it's something we need to use. Like a rich man goes, travels from the US to live in New Zealand, because in New Zealand you live better. You don't live, you don't do more, you do better. And I think this doing better puts us in gives us a competitive edge vis-a-vis the arch enemy, which is doing more. And I think, don't take it them as a critique, but I think that referring only to the intrinsic values, to the facts that we value something different, which is true, is not going to give us that competitive advantage. We need to have a better story to sell. And I think doing better is a pretty good story that is captivating and extremely competitive vis-a-vis the conventional doing more, which is the growth accumulation mechanism that we're fighting against.
Right. Okay, so I know, thank you for that, Lorenzo. I know that Tim will have to leave in just a couple of minutes. So I wanted to pass on to Tim. I know you talk about intrinsic and extrinsic values. Is there a last, parting note you wanted to talk about?
Well, I thank Lorenzo for raising the issue. I'm not sure that I agree with how he characterized what we've defined extrinsic values as being. But I guess what I would say is there's no doubt that a healthy economy is part of doing better and doing well, especially in those nations that we saw were red on life expectancy. So there are some nations that do need to grow economically in certain ways, and then there are other nations where we've probably grown enough. We are a big mature oak tree in terms of our economy, not in terms of our behavior, but in terms of our economy. And we need to be able to maintain our health for a long time in an efficient